Wednesday. I would like to get this meeting started at 5:32 p.m. Move right into roll call. Luke Aguilar. Here. Dr. Kathleen Barlow.
Here.
Joey Bryant.
Here.
Dr. Serafini. Trey Justin.
Here.
Dr. Martin Kennedy.
Here.
Brittany Kinsella.
Here.
Elena Lenway.
Here.
Jacqueline Robinson.
Here.
Vinay Skiles.
Here.
Brittany Stamnus.
Here.
Patrick Stanton. Spencer Sutton. Here. Dora Van Epps.
Here.
Tom Votron.
Here.
Good to have you guys all here. Let's move on to section 3, approving this week's agenda. You guys take a minute to review that. I would like to entertain a motion to approve this week's agenda. Trey moves. Is there a second? Luke seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Moving on to section 4, approval of last week's minutes. If you guys could take a minute to review that. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from January 4th, 2017. Trey moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Brittany seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. All right, moving on to section 5. I have no reports.
I just was going to say that at the December 10th BFC meeting, the PESH supplemental approval, or the supplemental funds was approved by the BFC.
Thank you. Any more reports?
Unless you want to share more about that carry forward discussion we had, we're going to send out maybe for next year.
Oh, right. Joey and I had a discussion on the carry forward funds at the end of this quadrennium. And so those actually, that happens at the end after the year is closed so that all transactions can be posted. And then that carry forward discussion happens later in the year, like October.
We'll let the base funding groups know that and the timeline of when they need to get stuff in. That'll be for next year's committee to present those.
Well, thank you. Oh, no. All right, moving on to section 6, public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? Seeing none. Moving on to section 7, old business. Seeing none. Moving on to section 8, new business. We are going to start with supplemental funding request 1704. The National Dance Teachers Association exam, funded in the amount of $2,000. 10 minutes to present. 10 minutes plus. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Amy Stewart. I am a junior here at Central Washington University, and so this is my second year. I transferred in last year as a sophomore. So a little introduction to who I am. I'm studying history and museum studies. I grew up in Olympia, Washington, and this little fun fact that actually pertains to my dance history and dance experience is that my younger siblings and I are also black belts in Taekwondo, which interestingly enough has helped me in my dance pursuits and actually learn it and learn the art of dance over the past year. I have been dancing here at Central for 1 year, ballroom dance to be specific, and swing dance. I started taking lessons last winter quarter with faculty member Adam Myers, and since then I have been his TA for 3 quarters, starting spring 2016 and then this past fall, and I'm currently TA for 3rd quarter. I also, this academic year, I'm serving as the Vice President of the CWU S&A Club here on campus, and that is a great experience that I'm having, and I'm learning a lot in dance, and that is very beneficial to me. My goal is to go to the National Dance Teachers Association in Pompano Beach, Florida. A background on the National Dance Teachers Association is they train people in the art of ballroom dance and produce professional level dancers and certified teachers. this, this organization is very well known and is, their goal is to teach people. They have professionals to teach and expand the dance world in America. And my goal is to travel to Florida in February to take their examination to earn a teacher's certification. This would be the weekend of February 24th to 27th. Adam and I have set it up with the examiner, and we will spend 2 days training and learning more routines. There are 10 routines that we have to learn in different dance styles, and we have to learn both lead and follow for each part. It is a very intensive dance practice, and the end goal is certification to teach modern dance. This would increase my dance skills under professional level training, and then also as TA, this will help me be able to impart my knowledge to fellow students and be the best TA that I am able to be in assisting in these classes. I plan to continue TAing the rest of my time here at Central, and that will just further increase my experience that will actually help me in my future career. I'm requesting $2,000 total for this trip. I have done research on the airfare, hotel, amenities, transportation, and the exam, which is all factored into the amount I'm requesting. An estimated breakdown of the cost, because flight tickets and hotel rooms do fluctuate. I have built in extra room to make sure it is all able to be included. Airfare, I'm requesting $600 to $800 roughly. It all depends on what airline, when we fly out, and like when the dates are. Hotel, again, depends on how long and when the schedule is able to happen, so about $400 to $600. Transportation and amenities, we'll be taking a taxi all through the town, so that we factor that into about $200. And the exam itself is $75. And a little more on the exam, there are different levels. At the moment, I am learning routines for the bronze level, and then I will learn for the silver level. And these will allow me to administer these dance tests. And it's a curriculum-based, so it will be curriculum and then they test for that, and I'll be able to administer this to other people. This will benefit me because I will have a teaching certification for dance, and I will be able to offer lessons in museums, which is something that I'm going to pursue. I have a museum studies minor. I am wanting to pursue working museums, particularly colonial American museums. And in that era, they would have learned the waltz. That would have been a very common dance that they would have used at events and social gatherings. So my idea with this is if I have this certification, I can offer lessons, say in the waltz or whatever other dance pertains to where I am working at the time. Offer lessons in a dance style that would be applicable to the kind of museum I'm working with. And at the end, perhaps host like a fundraiser ball for the community, have a big social gathering and event just to bring people together in the dance, which is one of my things that I'm very passionate about in dance, and it's something that I want to share as much as I can. And so another thing, I am learning the background of the dance styles that I am studying. There are about 10, so I'm learning where they came from, the origin, where they're used nowadays, and I want, as a museum studies minor, to perhaps give dance exhibits in the future. And if I am learning this now, it will just help me already get a foundation for the knowledge base that I will need to exhibit to other visitors to the museum, and just continue sharing this love of dance that I have and learning the history of it. This will also benefit the dance program because I will be the only student who has this certification, which will add professionalism to the department and greatly just benefit how I can teach and how I can help them in teaching other students about dance. And going back to the beginning, how Taekwondo, actually, just interesting fact, has helped me. I spent 4.5 years learning how to do routines, learning how to tie all that in, and then with dance, it's helped me again with this, and to learn just muscle memory has helped, and with dance. So that gives me the ability to learn all these dance styles and successfully pass this test, which all ties back into why I want to do this test. And if I don't have the credentials to teach this, it'll just be more difficult to get the certification to teach this dance in museums, which is something that I really want to do. So I'm requesting $2,000 to go to Florida next month and take the National Dance Teachers Association exam so that I can earn this credential and pursue something that I really love to do. Thank you.
I'd like to open the board up for questions.
Well, first of all, I'd love to say that your idea of the museum, I think that's really cool. It's a really cool idea to incorporate that into one of your minor. But what I wanted to ask is, you said that this is an exam for a certification so that you can teach
Yes.
ballroom dance. Okay. Is there, are there any exams that are in the area, or is this kind of like, do you have to go to Florida to get that?
I have to go to Florida, that's where their base is, and we've scheduled it with one of the examiners, and he's going to be there also in the studio, training with us for 2 days, helping us make sure we're ready for the exam. So it's only in Florida, which is really far away.
So then, would the teaching that you do be in dance classes here?
Yes. We're TAing right now. Yes, I TA for Adam Myers up in Nicholson Pavilion for the dance classes, and so I've been doing that for, this is my 3rd quarter. And
But
it's
is the club also, the swing dance club?
Swing Cats, that is not part of this program because ballroom isn't associated necessarily with, they're two separate things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the Swing Cats is not like looking to help fund this, it's what I'm doing for the dance program. And then also I'm just vice president for Swing Cats. So they're two completely separate things, but this test would just benefit me in either way because I'd learn more about dance and how to do it and how to learn it.
Okay, thank you.
What is a medal test?
So the medal test, it's different levels. So I will be learning routines for the bronze level test at the lowest. And then what I can do with that is, say I get the silver medal certification as I learn a different routine. Then when I come back, I will be, and anywhere I go, I will have the credentials to teach the curriculum for the National Dance Teachers Association and then administer that test to the students. It's like there's a small fee for it also, I want to say $5 or $10 for a student test after they learn the curriculum. So it's more for me because I'm learning a whole variety of curriculum. But they would be able to get that medal. There would be the teachers, but they'd have that just level of dance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, finished.
So it's like the bronze medal, like different levels.
Okay. And are they, so you said that there's a day where they're instructing you, and then there's a day that, is there a day that you perform the exam?
Yes, so the way some of it depends on when we can actually fly in based on prices, but the idea we have is leave Seattle at the Thursday night, arrive Friday morning, spend Friday and Saturday doing the training under the professional, and at that point he'll make sure we have everything the way like they're looking for, and if possible even teach us more routines so we can study those. And then Sunday would be the day we take the exam. And how they do that is they play the music, we do this routine over and over until they tell us to stop. So until it's how they want it to be. And so the Friday and Saturday would be spent studying those, making sure it's really what they're looking for.
I apologize, I missed. What were the amenities you listed as $250 for amenities?
$200.
200.
Yeah.
Okay, that was because I know it says 200 there, but it's 250 on the request is actually.
That's some of what I built in. This is what I'm estimating, but I built in extra room around all of the costs that I have listed here because like airplane tickets may fluctuate depending on when we have to order them for them because we haven't been able to yet.
Yeah.
So like what I found now, they're at around 700 with Alaska Airlines, which are generally speaking, but then like it could change between now and the next couple weeks. So I had built more in there, but this is the estimated, that just has like the buffer room.
Okay.
So that it will work.
Within there. Well, what are all, I know you have transportation, but was there other specific amenities that you were looking at?
Mostly like food and just food or like any other, I don't really know, like necessities that just come with traveling. It's also a resort town, so that makes everything more expensive. It's in Florida, it's on the beach. So,
Thank you.
Are you planning to do any fundraising for this?
I hadn't thought about fundraising because it's kind of weird for me, I think, to ask for funds to send me to Florida to take a dance test. For me, that wasn't something I thought about, actually. But I think that could be an idea that I could do.
Did you try to get funds from Academic Senate at all, or your department?
With the dance department?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not able to fund this. Adam already talked to Therese, the director of the dance department, and it's something that they can't fund, which is why I had to come here and present, because they're not able to fund it. And through the Academic Senate, because technically it's not like directly related to like a class, so it's not like a field trip or something for a class. It has to be separate from that. This is something that I've asked for that will really affect my future, and my museum studies professors very much support this. They love the idea, and they're going to help me find a museum internship that actually has to do with dance. They have heard of those being available, so they're going to help me find something that has to do with my museum internship that I have to do before I graduate, that also will tie into dance to give me more background, so that when I go into my career, I have this certification and I have the background working in museums and tied in with dance.
Gotcha.
So does this give us enough separation from curriculum-based activities?
Yeah.
Just wondering about academic senate and getting funding from them, because I know that other students have gotten funding through academic senate to do things that are not necessarily for a particular class, like they go to a conference or something like that, but it just has to be an educational experience. So I don't know, have you talked to someone specifically who's in academic senate and gotten that answer, or is that like the impression that one of your professors had, or?
It was the impression that one of my professors had, that it would have to go through the different departments.
Okay.
If you take a public comment, 4 years academic senate, you're eligible for up to $300 as an individual student to ask them for that amount.
Okay.
They explicitly fund non-academic student activities.
Okay.
So you actually have that completely wrong. And I would encourage you to do that. A single student academic senate can request up to $300, and I would certainly urge you to supplement your funding that.
That is very good. No, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? All right, we'll go to this next week. Thank you. Moving on to supplemental funding request 1705, the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival request in the amount of $23,803.
Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Scott Robinson. I'm from the Theater Arts Department. I'm the chair in that department, and I will be seeing you again in March. Because we are an SA-funded group, and we're coming in for our four-year visit, right? Our four-year party. Today I'm in here specifically because we have a great opportunity for our students. We typically take 48 students to the American College Theater Festival, around 48, 45 to 50. Last year it was 48 that somebody put on the bus. And that's kind of the limits that we have. And in those people are, if you have been able to read through the summary of how people are selected to be at that conference, it's a pretty rigorous process where faculty members from different universities come to campus and view our work and then make recommendations and nominations for students to participate at different events at the festival. Students are also able to self-select and do poster sessions in their areas of expertise. And so we have quite a group of highly qualified students that attend on a pretty regular basis. This time, because of a couple of really great opportunities that we've seen, we had a recommendation, a nomination for us to attend to present. And so they invited a scene from Mary Poppins that was presented on campus last May to present at the festival in what they call a night of scenes, and they're doing the banker scene. And I don't know if any of you were able to see the production, but it was the one where they were all doing the tap dance number in the lines and being the men at the bank, right? How can we describe that better, Nick?
Well, normally the bank scene in the show is very boring, and it's just bankers walking like this, and we just decided to revamp it and change it into a whole flashy tap number to just change it up and make something new. And so I think they recognized that and wanted to show that at this festival, to show that we took something that was thrown by the wayside in the script and we made it awesome.
So what you see in our budget breakdown is the funding that was initially established to take those typical 48 students to the festival. And now that we've been invited to take this group, we need a little bit more funding from you. We're here because it's the end of the cycle, we don't have any rollover money and we can't roll over any debt to next year because we got to stop. So we've got to come back in and say, hey, we've got to have a little bit of extra funds to take the kids that need to go to make this presentation. It does work out to be about 26 students, I think it is. That brings us to 71 students and 1 faculty member that we need to take. The musical director we need to take with this group to be able for them to do what they need to do. We have 4 other faculty members, 3 other including myself that will be there, but we were already taking ourselves and being with the other group of students that are presenting. This is a different piece. So we fit, how many people are in the number, Nick?
I think it's about 20, 25.
Okay. So some of the students were actually in the group of 48 doing other things. The extra people are people that are extra that have to be going in there. You will also notice on the budget breakdown that we have some different kinds of numbers that are a little bit interesting. Airfares at $250 and $375. We've already blocked in the airfare for the 48 at the $250 price, but now these additional students are going to take that $375 to get there. We do put our students in rooms 4 or 5 at a time. The hotel, the conference hotel that we're at actually has rooms that hold 5 very nicely with hide-a-beds and other things. So it kind of sounds like, how are you going to put 5 in a room? But they're pretty sweet. And you'll notice that there's some pretty substantial input from the students to go to go and present their work. We asked them to pay a $250 fee that helps offset the cost of the hotel. Again, because we were able to book everybody in advance, we knew what that fee was for the 48, but the difference is the amount of money that we need to put the other 25 students in those rooms that now have to pay the non-conference rate at the conference hotel. Does that make sense? We could have looked for another hotel, maybe found something a little bit cheaper, but we felt it was a lot easier to manage our resources and know where the students were and what they were doing and have them involved in the festival if we were all together at the conference hotel. So that's kind of where that kind of went there. And they're all encouraged to register for the conference on their own. It's an $85 registration fee. And then we have them cover the food that they have to use for the conference. They pay that on their own. So we are actually looking for $23,803 to be able to make the difference up to take the additional students we need to do that. I brought Nick and Jada because I think they bring a pretty interesting perspective, and I just want to give them just the last couple of minutes that I have to talk to us about a little bit why it's important for a student to go and represent their work.
Hello, my name is Sheila Harper, and I am a senior here, and I am a musical theater major. I'm going to just walk up here because I can see you all. And this festival is extremely, I mean, I wish you all could go and see what's going on there.
It's insane.
It's really insane and awesome. There are many opportunities that are presented to students there. So not only are we going and learning about theater and all types of different theater, but we're learning how to not necessarily only act, but how to build our own companies, how to be an assistant director or casting director, any of those things. Not only is that going on, but we are also auditioning. So we get there and there's next step auditions, and we can audition to do things like for summer and be paid for those things. And not only that, there's so many great things. So since there's so many students that go, Central advertises, so when we do well, they ask what school we go to, and we have a little table that's set up that talks about Central and why you should come to Central and why our theater department is great. So it brings in more students as well.
We constantly
Yeah.
have student reps at those
Yeah.
tables offering student incentives as to why we get a lot of transfer students into
Yes.
our program in the theater arts department. And so that this conference is where we get a lot of those people interested because they see the students performing, showing their work at the conference, and then they're like, well, hey, my school's not as good as that. I want to be there.
Yes.
And so they come talk to us, and then we can offer what we have here.
Yeah.
Another,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, like one transfer student we had, Andrew Jamshidi, he transferred from the KCACTF that we went to, the conference, and he got nominated for an Irene Ryan this year, but he is one of the transfer students, that's just an example. So we have really awesome students that come from that conference. Yeah.
Another great thing that happens at the conference is there are multiple competitions that happen inside of it within all of the different disciplines, so not just performance theater, it's the technical side as well.
Yes.
But I personally competed in a musical theater competition while I was there, and I was the lucky winner out of all the people that competed. And the Kennedy Center actually, because I went and was able to go to that first initial festival, they funded my entire trip, week-long trip to DC, where I got to go to the actual nationwide Kennedy Center Festival, which was even more incredible. So it's a stepping stone to something even bigger than we have here in Washington.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Missoula Children's Theater, but there are opportunities from them there as well. And he was cast, and a few of our other people were cast there to go to Missoula and do touring things. And Missoula is a company you want to get hired with. So if you get hired there like that, it can be a great stepping stone to doing more things within theater. And so it's just a really great opportunity to see more than just performing, because I know a lot of people feel like it's not practical to, do acting, but there are other opportunities, and it shows every avenue of theater. So it's a really wonderful experience, and you learn so much. It's great.
So I'm going to cut these guys loose because they have to go back to rehearsal, but I'm here to answer your questions.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I'd like to open the board up for questions.
Could you say again about the conference registration, how that's covered?
The students have to cover the conference registration on their own. That's part of their investment in participating in the conference.
Okay, so this line under food covered by students is part of what they...
So the student's personal the student personal contribution is that registration piece. It's $85 per student, and we wanted to acknowledge to the committee that the students are actually asked to pay for the food. It's an expense, but we didn't list it as an expense because you don't pay for food, and the students are asked to pay for it anyway. But we wanted to kind of acknowledge that that's what's going on there.
Okay.
So it is an expense, but somebody's covering it out of their own pocket. But it's not really revenue that we earned and have in the bank to pay for something. So
So that's 72 total people, or are those 24 that would sign up extra part of the 48 that have already signed?
that includes the 48 and the extra people plus the one faculty member that we need to take to do this particular number.
Gotcha. I have a question. Is this an annual conference?
It is. We hosted it here 3 years ago.
Okay.
It's been in Denver for the last 2 years, and it includes students at universities in the 9 Northwest states: Northern California and Nevada, Colorado, Wyoming, all the way across to Alaska. And there's about anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 students that attend a week-long event.
So you said you take you said between 40 and 50, 45 and 50 or so. Has that been about that number consecutively?
It's pretty consistent.
Every year that you guys go?
Yep.
And I know that you also said that you can get base funding.
And that's what that $10,000 base funding allotment is in there. It's what we typically allow to take that number of students. And that's part of our base funding is those conferences.
So typically, the majority of this conference is paid from that money. Is that correct?
From that and student fees that pay for the hotel.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So last year we paid about $250 for the week of each student. Each student paid $250 for that hotel last week or last year, and then they paid their registration. But the other 10 was from us.
Got
It
it.
happened to be a bus. They didn't like it very much. And because we could get flights 3 months ago at $250, it worked out to the same amount of money it cost for the bus. So we just hurried and did it. Shouldn't have bought 70, but we didn't necessarily know we needed to take 70.
So students are paying the $250 plus the $85 conference fee?
Correct. The $250 comes off as a class fee. They all register for the class that's associated with this. It gets them ready to go. So anybody who's auditioning and doing presentations are all faculty mentored in that class before they head off to the festival. So that's a class fee that's built into their financial aid package as well. So really what they're out of pocket for the festival that they've got to actually write a check for or use their credit card with is that $85.
I have another question. So the students, the 24 students who are now going, are they enrolled in that class?
They're all enrolled in that class. And if you don't fund them, we're going to be having to refund fees and unenroll them. Which the registrar said they would just love to do. But the students would love to do that.
Are there any further questions at this time? Thank you. We'll be voting on this.
See you next week.
Thanks, Scott.
Moving on to base funding requests, section I, Camp Seaward.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
My name is Alex Lee. I'm here to present, obviously, on Camp CWU. Corey Sinclair is up here with me as well. He is here to give kind of the historical perspective of the camp and to answer any questions you guys may have on that. I am a staff member in the Rec Center. I started in August, so that's why I asked Corey to be up here with me as well. So Camp CWU began in the 1980s. It has over 30 years of S&A funding, and it is a recreational educational program offered to children ages 6 to 11. And then our primary functions with the camp, obviously, for our student employees is student development, and then for our campers is that they have fun. Camp CWU operates between 7:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. 10 weeks during the summer. Last summer we had 44 full summer campers. We averaged about 50 registered campers per week. And then in a couple weeks in July, we actually maxed out at 85 campers registered. And then last year's camp, 6,500 student hours went into running Camp CWU. That's preparing the camp in the spring and then actually running the camp during the summer. Our learning objectives for our student staff, we have obviously a long list of what we want our student staff to learn. They prepare and implement activity plans, they problem solve, they'll identify potential risks with children, and they'll find ways to alleviate those risks. They motivate campers in a positive way, they enhance their ability to work as a team. Conflict resolution obviously is a big part of that, sometimes with staff as well, but usually with campers. And then the main thing I really want to point out here that I think is super important is the practical work experience that our students get, and then they are more marketable for employers down the road. Our learning objectives for our campers, teamwork, balance, strength, endurance, speed, agility, and flexibility. Obviously we want them to learn some character education and positive social skills. Academic related activities is a big part of our camp as well. We also teach them some swimming skills and then some nutrition as well during the camp. A little bit more about student employment for the camp. Last summer we employed 18 students, mainly at minimum wage. We had 2 supervisors that made a little bit more than minimum wage because they were our student supervisors for the camp. We pay for other facility staff on campus as well. So our climbing wall, lifeguard, bus drivers, and then all those wages are not set by us, they're set by whoever we are using the facility. And then we have approximately 10 campers each year that are CWU students' children's. Organizational chart, obviously myself as the camp director. We like to run with a morning and an evening supervisor. And then last year we ran with 16 camp counselors throughout the day. The benefits of our program. Last year we paid out almost $50,000 in student wages, and that is just in the summer alone. We also generate revenue for other programs on campus, the pool, climbing wall, our outdoor pursuits and rental shop through the rec center. We offer a reduced rate for our CWU students. We also offer a reduced rate to CWU staff and alumni for the camp. And then we work with other academic departments to create lesson plans for our campers and activities for our campers as well throughout the summer. A majority of our student staff is from the education department and from our PESH program. So the practical experience, working 400 hours one-on-one with campers throughout the summer, extremely important. And they do about 40 hours of training currently. We are looking to expand on our training to get them more prepared for camp and then again more prepared for future employment. These are the collaborations we have on campus. We work with obviously our OPR, the pool, the rec center, the climbing wall. We use various academic facilities on campus as well. And then in the past couple of years, we've partnered with this list of departments on campus, the education department, biology, physics, music, PESH, and the recreation department. The direction of growth. This is our goal for the future as we move forward with our camp. We really are looking to expand our camp training, make our training more valuable to our student staff, give them better practical training for their careers. We are interested in increasing our academic collaborations as well on campus. We're also looking to increase our marketing on campus to really get our name out there to all CW students, faculty, and staff that maybe don't know about our camp, and we want them to know that this service is offered to them on campus. And then obviously our camp growth, we're looking to increase our camp participants during the summer. We're looking to do parents' night out during the school year, and then also offer a spring break camp, which again creates more student jobs for us during the school year instead of just over the summer. And then we also would like to offer more internships to our students because we do have academic departments on campus where this camp is very relevant for them. And then our goals for the students are obviously to create more student development opportunities, develop the skills that they need for future employment, offer real practical work experience. We'd like to integrate with academic learning as well. And then we want to promote good work performance of our student staff. Our university goals are obviously to support and retain and graduate well-qualified student staff. We want to develop collaborative relationships across campus. We want to increase involvement of students and employees in the community, and then we want to also strengthen the ties within the university community as a whole. So this is the funding request. Obviously, this is what we are projecting. Our student payroll is just under $79,000. Our employee benefits obviously is about $2,400. Goods and services $9,400. Travel $6,500. So our annual base expenses is looking about just over $97,000. So obviously, we are projecting about $80,000 in revenue. So that's where the $17,000 comes in for our request here today. Any questions?
Would you mind just going back 2 slides and showing us those individual slides?
I have a question.
Yep.
So I know you weren't here, but 2 years ago, how much did you guys grow from 2 years to this past summer?
We'll probably say maybe around 10 to 15% overall. I think we've had a pretty consistent number as far as our number of campers that commit for the full summer, as well as our weekly. And then we've had a partnership for about the last 4 years with the Ellensburg School District. They've brought in a group of ELL students in for 4 weeks, so about 20-some students. So we've actually lost that partnership. They're going in a different direction with their program. So that's one of the goals, is to kind of ramp up our promotional activities to see if we can kind of fill that gap. So.
Some of these funds would be going to training employees, you said?
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about like your current training program and how you want to better that?
Yep, so currently we offer staff training a week before the camp starts. And it's a pretty intensive 40 hours a week of trying to get the students in a lot of practical situations, trying to build teamwork within our staff group, and then training them and getting them all certified in CPR, first aid, and all that stuff. So the 40 hours, that 40 hours intensive week, it's honestly kind of a lot for student staff to learn in 40 hours a week, and it's a lot for us to kind of fit in there, to get in there. So my goal is to stretch it out to about 6 to 8 weeks, to about 8 hours a week as we lead up to that, to really get, one, obviously the bonding between our team, create a stronger team, and then obviously we can hit stuff a little bit slower so they can learn, understand, and then they can not forget it after, after 40 weeks of intensive training.
That's great, thanks.
Can you tell us about the field trips you take?
Field trips? Yes, so usually we take 2 trips to Moses Lake Water Park. We go to Cary Lakes, we go to the Science Center. I feel like I'm missing one.
Lake Easton, biking.
Is that what the zoo is as well?
Which one?
The zoo?
No, we do not go to the zoo. No.
No, I just saw it in there, so I was wondering.
A few years ago we went. Sometimes we get some repeat campers that come from year to year, so sometimes we'll try and change up a couple of the field trips. But we used to, a few years back, we actually took field trips every week. Just with the increased cost that we've seen with transportation as well as admission for a lot of the places that we go to, we've scaled that back. So we go to about 4 to 5 field trips now, and the biking at Lake Easton, there's no admission cost there when we go, so it's just transportation costs. So we actually go biking on the Dunway Trail, so that's a great one. And then go to Cary Lakes. We rent some equipment through our Outdoor Pursuits program, and so a lot of rafts and different things. So that one also doesn't have any admission, and we're able to scale back the transportation cost there and do a couple shuttles since it's close. So.
With the revenue, I know on the next slide you have projected, what was it, 80,000?
Yes, sir.
Where are you getting that number from?
So obviously, like Corey said, we are losing our ELL program. My goal is to raise $80,000. That is my goal, and that is something that I've set for myself to reach with our summer camp program. And that includes, I think, obviously the spring break camp will bring in a little bit more revenue as well. Increasing our numbers during the summer will also bring in some more revenue.
What is the cost per camper?
Cost per camper? So for summer long, for CWU students, it's $1,400. For faculty, staff, and alumni, it's $1,500. And then for community members, it's $1,600. Just so you have an idea of what that breaks down to. When we offer our weekly registrations, each week is worth at $200 or $225 if we have field trips that week. So really each, CW students are saving about $600 or so, $500, $400.
And I think that goal was kind of looking at kind of our past revenue that we've generated. We've kind of done kind of a marketing analysis to the community to try and make sure there's an affordable camp for people in the community. And so, I think it's achievable.
And I don't know, this may be more for you, Corey. Looking at the past 3 years, the annual reports, I know the self-support funds have fluctuated a bit each year. Can you touch on why that is? Or do you recall why that is? I know it's going back 4 years now.
Yeah, I guess, obviously there's been this program has been around since the 80s, so there's been some revenue that's kind of generated slowly over time. This past year we had an opportunity to, if you guys are familiar with the fields up at Alder, we had an opportunity for a facility improvement up there. So we actually used some funds from this budget for that fence up there. So that was about $90,000, surprisingly. Surprisingly, a fence costs that much. But working with our facility department, that's something that's an area that we've been really looking to improve. It actually used to be a cow pasture that they irrigated and threw down seed, and if you go out there and actually plant it, you can actually tell. So that was one of our department goals, to try and improve that space. So that's what part of that went to. But we've been really careful not to, I guess, spend that balance down because of the amount of revenue that we rely on for this program. I think it'd be financially responsible to do that. So
That was actually, that was my next question, so you read my mind. I was specifically the self-support, I know, and I'll just say, because I'm here, I know in 2014 it was just about 53,000, and next year it was 105,000, and it looks like last year was 75,000. In terms of, and it looks like that's the revenue, so I wasn't sure if that was fluctuations in the number of students or.
yeah, I have to look a little bit closer to see Rusty O'Connell.
That's where this is primarily based off is historical revenue generation. The last 2 years, we've seen amazing growth. Mostly with our partnership with the Ellensburg School District. Unfortunately, due to their fund shortages and trying to increase areas, they're reappropriating their funds in those spaces. A little bit extra historical information. Corey's ran Camp CWU for several years, 11 years, since you've been here just about. One of the things and opportunities that we saw was to bring on a staff member full-time and insert Alex. Alex's current salary is flat funded, and you guys were all here for that last week under sport clubs at Camp CWU. We see an opportunity to really expand Camp CWU and expand it beyond the summer and the spring break. We've talked about a variety of other opportunities, especially with late arrival Mondays and how we can get involved with that. Get involved with the school districts via if it's PTA or if it's recess or if it's other avenues to get connected. And to do that, and where I think he's accurately projecting is, we got to build a student team that's not seasonal, that's not summer seasonal, that's going full-time throughout the year. That's going to help us grow and continue to sustain. Because that's exactly what we did with the revenue generation, is we put it right back into improvements. What we did with this is there was a small S&A portion that was given, I think $3,300. But for the most part, this is a totally self-supported program. And basically they put out what they put into it. And then what we put into it, give back, we put right back into campus programs and or facilities. That's just an extra little.
Thanks, Russ. I think a couple years back, I can recall when they implemented the administrative fee. I think that was almost a $10,000 hit, and so that was that kind of hurt. I think they did some restructuring where that didn't come directly out of this budget. So I think that was one thing there. And then, like I said, I think we've seen a little bit of an increase, or kind of a slow, steady climb over the last couple of years. So, yeah. That answers your question.
I have a question. How many student employees did you say there were?
18.
Do you typically have student counselors that return the following year?
We usually have a couple.
Is that?
There was a couple from this that worked in 2015 that came back for 2016. So there's always a few.
I assume that makes training go more smoothly.
Yeah, it does, but I guess kind of the catch-22. I've found a lot of our more competitive applicants have the most experience, and usually they're upperclassmen getting ready to graduate. So a majority of our staff are usually upperclassmen, which means we have a higher turnover. So it's something we've tried to combat, but it's been tricky. Yeah.
So, which students are participating? Like, where do you see them? Like, what are the majors, like the students who participate in the Camp CWU season?
So we've had a lot of PE majors. We've had a lot of majors from the ed department, and then we've had obviously a portion of staff that just come from anywhere on campus. And so while we concentrate on the students that are going into working with children, our main goal is obviously with the skills that I listed up there. I think those are transferable to any profession. So while we want to concentrate on those and giving them real practical experience, I think that any student we get on campus will learn a ton from our program, and we'll take that with them when they move on from the university.
I've seen some kids going into like social services, criminal justice. There's been a wide variety of different things, but I'd say probably 90 8% of our staff over the last 5 years are pursuing careers working with kids.
I have one last question. Just in your guys' words, how does this program help and affect all Central students? Like, how does it impact all students?
Sure. Well, I think, obviously there's a reduced rate for Central students, so students that have kids. Obviously, a majority of this, of the budget goes in the form of payroll. It goes back to the students. We also, in our program expenses, we work with a lot of like the pool on campus, the climbing wall, our outdoor pursuits and rentals. We work with a lot of different programs that actually they generate revenue off of our camp, which in turn creates more opportunities for other students. So yeah. And also the academic partnerships. We work with a lot of different academic departments, and they actually get an opportunity for a lot of students that are actually taking classes on campus, actually get to work with kids, which if we didn't have the program here, I really don't think that they'd get that opportunity. And we've got a lot of partnerships that we've been able to explore, and we're looking to increase that as well. So.
Are there any further questions at this time? All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next base funding request, the sports club.
I'm gonna get the light over here so you guys can see.
They're still searching. It's under collegiate sports clubs right after source.
All right, we good? Hello again, I'm Corey Sinclair. I'm the Assistant Director for Collegiate Sport Clubs and Camps. I've had the privilege of working with sport clubs and camps on campus since 2005. To give you a little background about sport clubs on campus, I wanted to show a quick video that our Ultimate Frisbee Club put together.
Ultimate is not just a sport you go out on the field and you compete. It's a way of life, honestly. It's something I've been living by since my freshman year, and it's just.
I joined Ultimate because I always threw the disc around with my buddies back home, and I never thought I would compete like for a team level, but I went to the meeting and met all these great guys, and I was really impressed. For the first practice, it was really competitive. I didn't know how I'd fit in like skill-wise, but eventually I got better throughout the season, and now they promoted me to captain.
On the field now, it's a great place to go out, have fun, and get your exercise, and just generally have a great time. You don't need much skill to come on and join. You can find people to play with pretty much anywhere. All you need is a disc.
Ultimate is it's a team sport. It's one giant family. It's something that I came into my freshman year, not entirely knowing what I wanted to do.
So in the end, Ultimate is not just a sport. It's an absolute way of life, built with a community that quickly becomes family, and eventually turns into all of this. And who wouldn't want to be a part of that? I mean, come on, Ultimate's the best sport that no one's ever heard of.
So I wanted to show that video because I think a lot of participants in sport clubs can really relate to the testimonials and kind of the story that you saw there. I've done some research on the history of sport clubs on campus. I found evidence of rodeo as early as 1957 and men and women's rugby on campus in the early 70s. In the year 2000, the university created the sport club program. As you can see, soon after that, you saw a significant increase in the number of clubs on campus. That number plateaued, and you can see a slight dip and then an increase that I'll talk about that we're seeing recently. Sport clubs could range in a wide variety of different activities. A lot of them could be sports that you see traditionally in high school programs. We have a lot of sports that students get to participate in that they may not have had an opportunity to compete in before they came to Central. I think it's pretty neat. We've got some clubs that compete regularly at the national level on kind of one end of the spectrum all the way to clubs that are just really passionate about just having an opportunity to participate in whatever their sport is. I think you can see from a lot of these pictures, and something that we saw in a recent study, we did over 100 sport club participants that took the survey, indicated that participating in their sport club really contributed to their sense of belonging, and really they felt a sense of community by participating in their clubs. Our clubs are very active in campus, coming up with creative ways to promote their clubs and generate more awareness on campus. Also the events that they hold on campus. Our clubs are also active off campus, participating in community service projects, working with off-campus organizations, and with youth sports programs. Last year, we had 23 sport clubs on campus. This year, we've been approached by 8 new clubs. Last year, we had over 400 students participate, and I anticipate in the near future, we'll have over 500. Last year, we averaged 50 practices and meetings per week. There were 1,400 practices during the year. Our clubs competed in 113 competitions. They traveled over 50,000 miles. One of the most impressive statistics I've found, our clubs generated over $220,000 in revenue. That was all generated by fundraising and paying out of pocket for dues. Over the past few years, we've had 6 to 8 clubs compete at the national level. In 2013, we had our first team win a national championship. That was our weight team in Shreveport, Louisiana. To look at the breakdown of the staff costs, as you can see, we do not have any professional salary in here. I don't know why this is off a little bit. Sorry about that. So to look at the breakdown of the student costs, you can see student supervisors, that's a majority of our costs. We've got 4 staff members that help us with a lot of different administrative tasks, set up for events. Really, we would not be able to serve the number of students that we do without their support. We've also got a sport club executive committee. That's a small team of veteran club officers that actually help us with policy creation revision, and also help with some different trainings. Lifeguards, which are required for swim practice for the swim club and the water polo clubs. It's obviously required for practice and competitions, and then photo video for promotion of our program. A largest component of our goods and services budget is our insurance policy. That is very similar to the insurance policy that the CWU clubs have. Facility rentals, memberships, which are required for a majority of our clubs to compete in the national governing bodies that they're participating under. You can see kind of the breakdown of the rest of the costs there. I can come back to that and answer questions later on if you have more. For regional travel, I don't know if you guys have that or if you guys were able to get that in your printouts. I went ahead and printed off, we can pass it around if you like, kind of a breakdown, and that's my best estimate of what our clubs will, where they're going to travel, how many students they're going to take, what the vehicle rental cost is going to be, and what the lodging, anticipated lodging will be. It does not include food. That's estimates looking at different lodging options in those areas. Some can be more expensive than others. And then the vehicle rental was used using the CWU motor pool rates. The final category is major sports equipment. $12,000. So we do have some clubs that have some major pieces of equipment. It could be soccer goals, a swim timing system, a wrestling mat. Those could be considerable cost to maintain and to replace, and so that's to assist those clubs with that. here is the breakdown of the overall budget. And sorry, the formatting seems to be a little bit strange. So I participate in sport clubs. A large number of students participate. We support the recruitment and retention of students on campus, develop leadership skills through the management of their clubs. It's a positive outlet for students on campus, and this is a group of passionate students that spend thousands of hours participating in their clubs. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How much can each club request from you guys?
So we go through kind of a system similar to this at the end of the, usually in spring quarter. I have the clubs put together budgets and come and put together a request. So that's, I guess, one component of how I allocate funds. The other component is I look at their overall expenses and the revenue that they generate. And I found that's probably the most fair way, because I think that really takes into account how active the clubs are, what their expenses are, and how much revenue they generate. So I actually take their total expenses and their revenue that they have in their club ledgers. I add up that becomes a number of total financial activity. I'll add all that up and then figure out what percentage each club comes up with, and that's usually a pretty good indicator to figure out how much to allocate each club.
With the staffing you had on one of the previous slides, is that the current staffing that you have right now, or are there changes or additions to it?
No, that is the current staffing, and that is what I'm projecting for the next 4 years. So one thing that has changed over the last quadrennium is I have lost the ability to have a graduate assistant, but kind of in response to that we were able to get Alex. I think will help bridge that gap and help provide some support. So. Are there any further questions at this time? Joey?
Knowing, and again, so roughly, and correct me if I'm wrong, is really what you have up here is kind of similar to what your current budget is right now, operating expenses, other than I think you're talking about insurance is slightly increased based on what you were told to increase over the next few years. So knowing that that's more than what you're currently receiving in base funding right now, where do the other funds come to fund this area currently?
The students are having to generate more revenue. So that's the $220,000. That's pretty much the clubs start off the year. They figure out how much financial support they're getting from me, and then they basically figure out what their expenses are going to be throughout the year. Obviously make adjustments, whatever their allocation is, and then they figure out how much they have to come up with. So either they're going to pay more out of pocket, fundraise more, or they need to reduce their expenses, which some clubs have some flexibility to pick and choose and maybe reduce the number of competitions that they're traveling to. But some clubs compete in conferences or leagues where they don't have that luxury, so some of them it's a little bit trickier. And some of them have some really, in ice hockey for example, they have to pay $1,700 for 1 quarter for rental fees. So our equestrian club pays $3,000 a month for their to board their horses and to hold practices at Orion Farms currently. So it's a pretty substantial cost. So I think I figured out around $260,000 was the overall expenses last year that our clubs had.
And so really, other than business support, anything in addition is really coming out of the clubs themselves and to the students.
Exactly.
So that includes the 70,000 that was received from other funds last year? Is that what, so that was straight from clubs themselves?
I'm sorry, the 70,000 on that following year.
Huh?
Sorry, I didn't say that. That's the salary from, that's the professional salary that actually comes from another S&A budget. So that was actually put into this budget, so that's why that looks that way.
Okay, gotcha. And you correct me if I'm wrong on this story. That on here, that 70,000 would have covered the non-student payroll portion, and that non-student payroll portion and the benefits.
Yep. Yes, I believe the last 4 years, I believe it was $187,000 was what we were previously allocated from this committee.
I have a question. With the budget that you're proposing, does that have room for the 8 new clubs that you saw this year? And more
Yeah.
possible?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have the ability to take on, I guess, a few new clubs with, you know, the help of another staff member. I think the reality is, depending on the club, sometimes it's a little bit tricky. We're at maximum capacity in a lot of our facilities on campus. So I think depending on what it is, like one of the clubs is a fly fishing club, so obviously that's not an indoor activity, so we have the capacity to add a club like that. There's spike ball, there's another one that really doesn't take up much space. Table tennis that doesn't take up much space either. Ski snowboarding club. Yeah, it kind of depends on the club, but yeah, that is taking that into account with the growth of this, what we're seeing right now.
Are there any further questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Moving on to our next supplemental, or excuse me, base funding request, student funds financial manager.
Okay, so I'm Dora Van Epps, and I'm the financial manager for student funds. So a brief history of the position. So with the opening of the new Student Union and Rec Center, the S&A committee and university administrators and board of trustees recognized that there was a need for financial management specifically for the S&A funds because there's different fees associated with that. And so that position came to be. Some of the areas supported by this position, financial advisor here to this committee. I support the Dean and Associate Deans of Student Success. The S&A supported program, so the base funding requests and the supplemental requests, those all go through our office. Clubs and organizations on campus, all of the university clubs and organizations, as well as the student union and the rec center. So with the Dean and Associate Deans of Student Success, what I get to do is run the reports for them and then have those available so that we can meet and review where the budgets are based on their budget versus where they're currently at. And then for the S&A programs, like I said, that's for the base funded and supplemental allocations. Clubs and organizations, all of those transactions come through our CERC and club accounting, which I'm going to go ahead and talk about in just a second. And then for the student union and rec center, I get to run the reports monthly. I meet with Rusty and Cherie, they're the directors, and then review their budgets and see where they're at, and see how, where they're going and if they're on target where they think they want to be. So some of the key services and duties include the reporting, forecasting of the budgets, reviewing financial policies on the appropriate use of funds, establishing the budgets, working with the directors, and once that's established, is entering that into our budgeting system. So that's the CAP5 system that Central uses, and working on financial year-end reports. Another thing is reviewing policies and procedures related to accounting, auditing, internal controls, cash handling, and budgeting. A lot of that happens through our CERC accounting office. And again, reviewing policies and procedures that govern the student funds. I get to work closely with Joey on that. Call him all the time on that. This position is also a member of an advisor on the CERC Partners Advisory Board. And that comprises the student union, the rec center, bookstore, and dining. And there's a monthly meeting that we get together, review expenses, and if there's any questions, then I get to go and research that and make sure the allocations are correct and work with them on that. This position is also an appointed member of the Budget and Finance Committee, so all of the funding that comes through the S&A committee here, then The VFC meets once a month during the academic school year. That's on the second Tuesday of the month. And then Vinay prints up a report from the previous month's transactions, and then I go to VFC and report on that and get that approved. And then the Student Funds Financial Manager also manages the Circuit County office, which has 3 full-time employees and 5 student employees. And so a little bit about what we do there is the Circuit County office. I work with Vicki and Danae, and Courtney, who are employees there now, and we work on processing and to process the funding of the Academic Senate, Club Senate, ESC, and the S&A funds. So Circuit County office helps the students with the reimbursement process, getting everything set up so that when the students are traveling, help them with their travel authorizations. So similar to like when PESH came in, they had the one request, but they have maybe 20 students going. So that's 20 different transactions that we're able to help all the students with. So I mean, it's a lot of fun to see them come into the office. So Circuit County also serves as advisory role for the student clubs to help them, to guide them on questions that they may have regarding what things they can and can't do. And we also help them with their travel and their fiscal related transactions. And so Circuit County, we all work in the office to process all of the club activity. So that's deposits, withdrawals, the check requests, charge credits, everything that happens with the student clubs comes through our office. And then each month, all of the club accounts are reconciled in our FMS, which is the financial management system. So the base funding request that I submitted is for the $109,504, which is basically payroll and benefits, goods and services, travel and equipment. The goods and services comprises the Daily Record subscriptions and the Seattle Times subscriptions that are here at the CERT, as well as the different costs associated with supporting the weekly S&A meetings. And then travel would be for any continuing education that might come up, and then equipment is for computer monitor, printer replacement that might happen during the next 4 years. So that's all. Any questions?
The only one. Looking at the goods and services and travel, I know Pierre has it under for 18,000. Was that, and I don't know because I don't have the previous one on here. I know from the annual reports that it looks like they were about 10,000 annually. Was there? Are we anticipating increased costs in something, or is this to give some buffer in areas we haven't needed to spend?
That's to give some buffer just in case there's a cost that comes, that happens to arise, just to have that available. Of course, it goes back if it's not spent. So, but that's just to have that right there. Just.
Are there any further questions at this time? Thank you. Moving on to our next base funding request, the S&A advisor.
Thank you for your service. In the past, during the last funding cycle, I got to serve as the co-advisor, so I understand all the pieces that you're going through. During that time, we were in the process of reorganizing, and there had been an announcement of a retirement of a staff person, Jack Baker, who served as the advisor for S&A for many years. And so this is a new request, and it has not been funded in the past. So simply put, it is to help offset the cost for the Executive Director of Student Rights Responsibilities and in their role as advisor to this group. So again, for those who don't know, Joey's role on the campus is the Executive Director of Student Rights Response.
Just so the committee knows, it's listed under executive director. They're also not.
There's
Thank you.
Yeah.
Executive Director, yes. Sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. For those who don't know, Joey's role on the campus is to serve as the Executive Director of Student Rights Responsibilities and Health Promotion. He oversees the student conduct, the Wellness Center, and case management. And in the process of kind of defining who would be the next advisor, we did not know during the last funding cycle to put that into a request. So that is why it's a new fee request. Part of his role defined in his job description is 10% to serve. His time is to serve as advisor for the S&A group. So kind of looking at that again, we're simply asking the S&A committee, even the job responsibilities are listed as 10% of his job duties. Currently we are funding, so in his previous job it was funded, but in looking at the salary of the previous person who served in a similar role, it was about a $25,000 difference in pay. And so we needed to make Joey's position somewhat more equitable. And so this past year we made the decision to raise his salary 6.8% to get him in line with other directors on campus. Simply put, we're asking that S&A help offset the cost of that's currently being funded from one-time funds from the Dean of Students office. Those one-time funds are from carry-forward monies that haven't been spent in other units. And of course, they're called one-time funds because once that money is expended, it's no longer available. And so we're trying to seek some consistent funding so that Joey's position can stay completely funded in its entirety. So we are asking for S&A to help cover for the cost of his service as the advisor to this group of $5,215 per year, and that includes the benefits cost for that portion of the position. So that is simply the request. Any questions?
You just said 52-15, right?
I believe, yes.
I have 58-54. I'm just wondering if I had the wrong sheet or maybe.
Yeah, the number, and Dora can probably answer this better, was based on the recalculation of the benefits, if I remember.
That's right.
So the number you have in your request is correct. Yeah, gotcha.
Are there any further questions?
So what's the impetus to make this more equitable then?
Well, simply again, in Joey's role, because if we're not able to continue funding that, because his position is currently funded through state dollars, then we would have to look at Joey's role either reducing in its time. So, for example, right now he's considered 1 FTE. Because that money is based on one-time funding, we would have to either find another funding source, cut somewhere else to establish that money, or we would have to reduce his time. Because his job and the time that he's already serving is quite full as the Executive Director for Student Rights Responsibilities, he's already working the 40 hours plus coming to these meetings and facilitating kind of all the other process that has to go in the meetings and the preparation of all the information that you get, the training and all those things.
Is it a matter of your concern that he may leave, or?
I think it's to make it equitable because again, he supervises staff that currently only make $2,000 less than he did. So the problem is that, and they're in director
levels.
levels.
That's the reason someone would want to leave.
Potentially.
Yeah. Okay, so is that, because you're kind of getting circular for a second there.
Well, again, I don't necessarily want to go there. Joey is doing a great job and he hasn't indicated any desire to leave. But we do believe that we want the types of positions that he's in that executive director role and for the types of service to continue to be at the level of the professional that we want to be advisor for this group. We think that it is equitable and fair to have that competitive, yes.
What's the current salary for that?
His current salary, again, is, let me find that.
It's probably interesting.
65, 70.
Current now. Current 70.
70 now. Now that includes the adjustment, that $5,000 adjustment.
Okay. Do you think you could get someone cheaper to do it?
To do all of that, if you look at conduct in general, in most places, no. So just kind of as a point of reference, the previous person that served in the role, again, as I indicated, was at 85 when he left university, and that was his salary. So, and then when Joey got into his role originally, it was at that low 60, and so we're trying to make some adjustments.
I have a question. So he already has the adjustment, you just want to keep it?
We want to be able to maintain that level, right? Because currently, that again, that 5,000 that he did receive in the raise is again funded currently through one-time funding.
Are there any further questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our last base funding request for the night, the Veterans Center.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Ruben Cardenas. I'm the director of the Veterans Center. This is Taylor Fillmore. She's our outreach recruiter. Tonight, we're going to go over our presentation for our base funding request for our Veterans Center program.
Okay, so our Veterans Center staff, we have Ruben, like you said, he's the director, then myself, the outreach recruiter. We also have Dee Kellerman, who is our office assistant, and then we have 4 VA work study students that help us out. Down below is where our office is located and how you can get in contact with us. So our mission statement is Central Washington University is dedicated to serving veterans and their families by supporting them as they achieve their academic, career, and life goals. We offer an integrated, holistic approach to support services within higher education, and we strive to be known as the premier university of choice for veterans to achieve their academic success. This is a list of our goals, and I'm going to talk about a few, or how we have achieved a few of them. So for the second time, we have been designated a veteran supportive campus. So that demonstrates the veteran-friendly atmosphere that we have here at Central. We also partner with numerous departments and community organizations to build cohesion and collaborate on events to help the students' success. One department that we work extremely close with is Office of Admissions, and I participate and travel with them to go to numerous recruiting events. And I serve as that liaison for veterans who are coming to Central and need help getting started, and just to be there as a resource to help steer them in the right direction. And then, so that leads into where we use the majority of our S&A funding by creating events for our students where we can bring in guest speakers, provide refreshments through catering, and purchasing items that will help our students' success, retention, and graduation of our student veterans. An example would be that I attend orientation every quarter with all the branch campuses, and that's where I can assist those student veterans that are new, transitioning from the military and starting student life, and help them get started here. So this slide shows the population growth of student veterans and dependents, new student veterans and dependents enrollment from 2013 to 2017. As you can see, we've been pretty consistent with our number in enrollment. Something to note is after 2014 and 2015 academic school year, the VA no longer approved the aviation program, so we saw a loss of students because of their dedication to that program. So that's why you can see the drop in enrollment to the next year. As far as this year goes, we are on a really good track to beating the 2014-2015 school year. So our ultimate goal is to keep bringing in new students and beat the previous year.
So in relation to our new students that we bring in every year and every quarter, we wanted to give you guys a snapshot view of our total enrollment per quarter. So obviously our summer quarter is our lowest quarter of enrollment, and this is just looking at the 14-15, 15-16 academic years. So I would say we average around 550 to 600 students per quarter, and the reason that number fluctuates is because there's graduation, students that graduate, We, as an institution, admit students every quarter, and then students go through withdrawals or academic suspension. So I would say that's why we're fluctuating in that number. But in the end, I just really wanted to give you guys a snapshot of the students that we're serving and the amount that we're serving. So I just wanted to go over a few examples of our programming that we've done in the past. I'd asked Joey for 45 minutes to go over this, but he pumped the brakes on that real quick. So this previous year in the spring, we brought Daniel Rodriguez to campus. He's an Army veteran who got out of the Army and walked onto the Clemson football team. He has a very inspirational story, in my opinion, and it can resonate with anyone in general. I think especially a veteran though. So that's kind of the purpose of bringing him to campus, is to provide veteran awareness for our campus community and inspire our students to persevere through those difficult challenges that they might go through. This is another thing that we do is our veteran graduation dinner. Daniel was our keynote speaker at that event as well. So we kind of used him for two things. He had his own event, and then he was a keynote speaker at our dinner. At that dinner, we present our graduating veterans with the military challenge coin that's CWU specific. So that's something that's very popular with our students, and they're always excited to come to that dinner in the spring. This past fall, we had a welcome back event for our continuing students and then our new students. What we're trying to do is create that sense of community for those student veterans, and so they can get to know the new students coming in and they can help them out in case they need help with just anything in general that they're going through that the continued students may have learned while they were here. So we had about 50 people show up to that, and staff and faculty as well as support, so I would say it was a very successful event. Some upcoming programming and partnerships. So we partnered with the library and multiple other entities on campus to bring Tim O'Brien to campus. He's a Vietnam vet who wrote that book, The Things They Carried. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend reading it. They're given away in the library at the circulation desk, so if you haven't got it, go get it. He got the award Book of the Century by the New York Times, so great book. Anyways, what I want to emphasize with that event is that the library applied for a grant to cover all of the speaking costs, which was $16,000. So the rest of the programs that we have around this speaking engagement it isn't a huge cost because the huge chunk got covered by the grant. So, another event or a workshop that we have is translating your military experience into a resume. We've seen that, and this is a national trend, that a lot of student veterans are using their military lingo or jargon in their military experience section of their resume, and they're not fully marketing themselves to civilian employers just because they don't understand what certain things mean. So it'll be the 4th year that we're doing that with career services. So really our intent is to get those veterans into the workforce after they graduate. So, and then I already talked about our graduation dinner. We have a Salute Honor Society, which is a veteran honor society. Central has the only chapter in the Pacific Northwest, so we're very proud of that. So that's something that we do with the graduation dinner. Students get inducted into the Honor Society, and then the graduating students are there to celebrate their graduation. So. And this spring, hopefully we can bring Sebastian Unger. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's a war journalist, covered wars for over 20 years. If you've heard of Restrepo, the documentary, he co-directed that, and he was there in Afghanistan with an Army platoon. And recently he released a book called Tribe, so we're in the final steps of finalizing this contract. So hopefully, cross our fingers, we get through. Within our funding requests, we have 2 positions really that we're asking for. The outreach recruiter position, which is Taylor's position, is a partial funding request. Because of the FLSA law, they increased the amount that a overtime exempt employee would receive. So that created disparity within her position and really created a retention issue for our office, just because of the other similar positions on campus making that much more than her, really. So, of course, we would add in S&A responsibilities within a position description to be in compliance with S&A funding. So, but that's really why we're asking for that money. And our student coordinator position is something that we've had in the past. Our most recent student worker has graduated and moved on, so we're looking to fill that position soon. So this is I guess, a outline of what we're requesting for funds. Really, the goods and services is the chunk of the money, and that's what we're using for catering, the speaker fees, any other venue setup fees or marketing materials, things like that. So, yeah, it would be $47,848 for an annual request. That's all I got.
And this is a question, but also clarification for others. I know we've talked about this. Really, the base request you have is the same funding that you've received the last 4 years, with the exception of adding the expenses for the recruiter position.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. And we do have a book for you, Daniel's book, if you want it. It's called Rise. Do any of you guys want it? I'm not charging you for it. It's good
Grab it on the way out.
Are there any further questions at this time?
I have a question. With the money you're requesting, can you add more events, or is it just for the payroll?
Add more events.
Like another dinner, like another welcome back meeting?
Yeah, we're trying to, I guess, do more programs, but we have a very small staff, and I guess when we got our initial funding, our department was very young, and then we also had a director that retired, so we had that transitional period in there, so hopefully we can add more events, and I think we can do that with the funding that we're requesting, especially with partnering with other departments on campus to cover those costs for those additional events.
Was the 2015-2016 year the first year you added a student on the payroll?
Yeah. And like I said, the first year we didn't spend a lot of money. If you're looking at that, we really focused on building our student lounge that we have in our Veterans Center. And then just going through growing pains as a department, since we were so young as a department. So.
Right. So, you said you go to each of the centers every quarter, is that right? So
Yes, so all the branch campuses on the west side, I go to all their orientations every quarter.
So there's a travel cost, and that's part of the...
That doesn't come from that pot of money.
It comes from somewhere else.
That's a separate budget that we have, yeah.
Because I know, again, we won't be able to ask questions until we do deliberation. I know you mentioned there may be some added responsibilities added to the position with the funding. Do you have an idea of what those might be, or want to elaborate for the committee so they know?
I think currently I'm really the point person and the main person in charge of the S&A budget. So Taylor would have more of a role in running the programs and implementing the programs. So kind of absorbing some of those duties from my duties. So yeah.
Are there any further questions? Thank you, guys. Moving on to section 9, other business communications received. I'm not receiving any communications.
I'll put up, yeah, we have one more supplemental request. It'll be on the agenda for next week that we've received so far, but we'll see that.
Moving on to section 10, public comment, second call. Is there any public comment at this time? Yes.
I just have a quick question. My first year on the committee, we could access that function just to like get water or something. I'm wondering, can we do that again now that we're doing base funding and we're here for longer? Would that be
We just have to ask the building manager to unlock it because they keep it locked all the time. So when they open it, we just have to ask them to open the door. But
that would be great. Thanks.
Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, moving on to section 11, adjournment. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Brittany moves, is there a second? Trey seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. This meeting is adjourned at 7:05 p.m.
Make sure to send your name tags up to Vinay and put your folders back. I'll put them in the